Okay, let's get started. So welcome again, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. My name is Robert Gabriel. I'm President and CEO of Microwise Technology, and I'll be leading today's seminar. I also have Jonathan with me. I'll introduce him in a few minutes. Just a disclaimer, anything you learn in this seminar, you need to verify yourself. Microwise cannot be held responsible for any loss of data or revenue. This is the agenda for today. We have a busy agenda. We're going to talk about how practices are protecting themselves against ransomware and malware. We're going to talk about the sunset of Windows 7 and also Server 2008 and how that can affect your HIPAA compliant. We're going to talk about the fee schedule, how to track a missed copay, post a take back, post a patient refund, or transfer credit. Then we're going to open for Q&A now. Okay, I also have Jonathan with us. Jonathan is the Microwise Director of IT, and he's here to back me up today because we have a lot of IT talk today. So let's get started with the common type of cyber attack. So there's 7 type of attacks that can happen to a network or to a computer. Most of you probably might have heard of the first 2, and a lot of people might not hear about item 3, 4, 5, or 6. We'll discuss them briefly. We're not gonna. This is not a PhD course, so we're gonna do just to be an educated consumer or user. So the first most common, and hopefully you don't get to see that, but it's the chance that more and more people are seeing that as much as the careful people are seeing that. So usually, this is malware is a type of a ransomware or malicious attack on your computer, and it's the most lucrative attacks. I have no idea how those people are making money from this. So what they do is they lock all your files, and they ask you to wire them money or send them, crypto currency or whatever it's called. And some people are actually doing it, and we don't recommend it. At Microwise, we don't recommend it. I want to make sure that you take in all the steps that you never have to be put in that position ever. And if it happens, then what are the best way to get around it? So to protect against malware, very important, please make sure you have a good backup. It's heartbreaking when I hear over and over again, I say, Sue was supposed to be doing the backup, or I thought my IT company was doing the backup, and I thought, the backup was set up 4 years ago, and we thought it was still working. According to statistic, which is, I hope you don't become statistic, 65% of people that do backup, not the people that don't do backup, the people that do backup, they don't have a backup when they need it. And I see it all the time. Every few weeks, I get a call saying, we thought so-and-so was doing backups. We lost everything. It's really embarrassing, and it's really damaging to any practice or any business. So please don't fall into that. You need to verify your backup. If you think Microwise is doing your backup, make sure you are paying for it. It's not something you think it's included, or something that you might be, if you have cloud, of course, we're doing your backup. It's some type of managed IT, we also take care of your backup. Please verify in writing that we are doing your backup, or whoever else is doing your backup. The most common way of attacks is opening malicious email. I'm not exaggerating. Sometimes I receive 20 malicious emails a day, where people pretending they're my bank, or people pretending they're my voicemail company, or I receiving a voicemail through my email, or receiving a fax. Without exaggeration, one day I received 20 of them. Some days I receive 4 or 5. Some days I receive a lot more. Now, my name and my email address is more out there, but anybody is vulnerable for that. Another way is one of you will get attacked. An email will go out with your name on it, that's thinking your friends or your family or your coworkers thinks that it's you sending that email, but your computer got attacked and somebody's using your email agent to send malicious emails to other people. That's very common. The other day I received from a friend of mine, actually he works for a government, I received an email. I didn't expect that email from him, so I I text him and says, "Did you send me an email?" He said, "No." So I said, "Well, I think you got attacked." And you just be careful. If you're not expecting that email or that attachment, don't open it, because that's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to open it, and boom, that spyware or malware is infecting your computer, and it spreads so quickly through your different computers in the network to the different servers, and everything is connected. So we're going to tell you there, later, if you got attacked, what are the best way to not to have as big of a damage. The third way is you want to patch your computers. Patching your computers is really important, because hackers, they looking for loopholes in your firewall or your operating system or your server operating system. So they look for loopholes, especially we're going to talk about today the sunsetting of Windows 7 and Server 2008, and what happened what is the side effect from Microsoft sunsetting something like that. Avoid physical unauthorized access. We don't think that this can happen, but it happens. I don't see it a lot, but it can happen. Some computers are actually, if you put an USB in them and turn them off and turn them back on again, then the USB thumbnail is actually in control of your machine and can do whatever it wants to do to the machine. So let's say if I was a malicious person, you put me in the waiting room, and there's a computer in the waiting room, and there's a USB port on the computer. I can insert that USB, turn off the machine, reboot it again. Now I'm in control of that machine. I can infect it. I can do whatever I want with that machine. So one of the ways to prevent that is to disable the USB port from the exam rooms where some unauthorized patient is unauthorized person to use your computer. So you don't want to leave them in your exam room and do some harm, because they might have interest of damaging your computer. It's not common, but it can happen. Also, a person that's not authorized that comes into your office, like the cleaning crew or somebody's doing a delivery. When you leave your computer, you want to make sure your computer is locked. Don't go home or don't go to lunch with leaving the computer unattended. Now, of course, frustrated employee or ex-employee, we've seen that happen, or an ex-vendor that somebody used to service that account and no longer and wants to damage the account. So those are the most common ways of preventing yourself by watching out for those points. So what happened if you got attacked? Let's say you thought that this was a legit fax or a legit email or a legit link. You open it and boom, you receive something like this on your screen, that now we want money from you to unlock these files. So the first thing you want to do is you want to unplug that computer from the network, because that computer is going to spread through the network and infect all the other machines on your network. Then you want to disconnect it, turn it off totally. Then call us or call your IT expert, and that's the best way to start. The quicker you do it, the less damage is going to happen. You don't want to just keep watching it there thinking what are you going to do, and that virus or that malware is spreading from one machine to another or one server to another. You don't want that to happen. Now, if that happens, the best case scenario is we'll wipe off that machine and restore your backup. If you don't have a backup, I'm not gonna go there again. I think I made my point, and I've seen it happen over and over again. I've seen people losing 15 years worth of data, 7 years worth of data. I have a practice that got attacked 3 times in the same month. They had an IT company, and the spyware comes and attack their server and all the machines. They wipe them off, they restore them. The first time they didn't have a backup. Then it happened 2 times in a row after that within 30 days. Then after the third one, they fired the IT person, then moved their Medisoft in the cloud with us. If you're going to keep your data by you want to protect yourself. Now, the other type of attacks are phishing. So phishing, that's when the criminal, they send you an email, or it could be by phone, or it could be by any other methods. So let's talk about and get to access to your computer, to your network. So those are the most common 5 type of phishing scams. One is the email. We talked about it, where you think it's from your bank, or it's a fax, or it's a voicemail, and it's not. You click on it, and one of the ways that you can, if you're not sure what it is, if you know what an address is, if you hover over the link and see, like if you think this link is coming from Chase, if you hover over it and you see the chase.com HTTPS and it's chase.com, most likely it's legit. But if you have any suspicious, don't open it, because if a Chase or any other bank want to send you information, if you log into your portal, you're going to be able to read that information in a more secure way. If you open the link, that's what the criminal wants you to do, then they are now in control of your network and your machine. Another way is phishing is with a V here. It's a voice. Somebody calls you and ask you that there are the IRS. How many people got the IRS calls here that we're the IRS and you owe money? And those are the type of phishing. Now, this is not going after your computer, but it's, while we're talking in this topic, you just be careful with that one. Now, number 3, and this happened to some of my customers, they get a phone call saying we are Dell or HP, and there's something, the computers that you have, there's a recall on it, and we can log in and fix it for you for free. And after they connect to your network or your computer, boom, they infect your computer, and now you are at their mercy. They want money from you. And it sounds so legit. It sounds like somebody, is calling from India or Pakistan or whatever country it is. Sounds like a legit tech support call. I love it that some of you, when we call them, tell them that this is Jean from MicroWise, or that we want to do some updates on your computer. They want to verify. They actually hang up and call us back or something like that. I love that. Or most of you probably familiar with everybody's voice anyway. A hacker will use whatever it takes, and especially if they know some information about you or who they use. Pop-up warning scam. So if you go to some suspicious website or on scam websites, they might have a pop-up. You click on it and you are infected. Of course, fake website or fake search result. Somebody can have a fake website that you search for something that you do every day, especially like downloading a driver or downloading an update for your printer. You might wind up on a suspicious website, and you try to upload that, and boom, you are already infected. The other type of attack, which is we're probably more aware of it, but you might never heard of that term, is called the man in the middle attack. So the man in the middle attack is when somebody is spying on your communication. It could be if you are at a hotel and you're using a free Wi-Fi, somebody might attack that firewall and carbon copy everything you do. Get to see everything you're doing on your computer, and they can infect your computer. One of the ways that when I travel, I use my phone as my Wi-Fi. So I kind of connect to my phone.
Hotspot.
Yeah, well, okay. So you're using your phone as a hotspot, and most of us have free unlimited data anyway. So instead of using a stranger firewall or Wi-Fi, I'm using my own, so I know it's more secure. So let's go over the list of the things that happen. So you want to have a strong WAP2 encryption on your access point. Access point is your Wi-Fi at home or at the office. You want to make sure that it has a good encryption on it. You want to have a strong firewall, a strong password with a unique. One of the most common mistake a lot of people do is they use the same username and password for a lot of websites. All hear about Target getting hacked, or Neiman Marcus, or any other of the retail stores. So if you have an account with them and your account is your email address, and you have a password that you use over and over, they might use that username and password to try to log into your bank account, or to log into to log into your clearinghouse portal and have access to all your patient information from the clearinghouse. You name it, they have. It's not they sitting there and trying it. They already have routines and macros that does this for them. So don't use the same username and password. We use something here at MicroWise called LastPass. LastPass is a software that will let you track each website username and password. So you know only one username and password. I know that it feels kind of dangerous because if somebody have access to that, then they have access to all of your information and makes it so easy for them. But the chance that happen is much lower than using the same username and password, or maybe 3 or 4 username and password that a lot of people have, and they rotate through them. So what LastPass is they make it, and it's really nice because it works on my phone. So if I want to log into a website from my phone, I get to know my password, and the password is so long, it's nothing that anybody can guess, or not even me. So it's a very long generated password by the computer or by the LastPass software, and it's very nice. And LastPass, they have a free version. We use the paid version here at MicroWise because we share passwords with each other. So I can share a password with one of my personal bank accounts with maybe my bookkeeper without having to tell her what's my username and password. I can give her access. She can log in, and if I decided not to share that anymore, I can stop it at any time. So, but that's a different, check it out. It's really nice. Also VPN or cloud computing. So when you using cloud computing or VPN, you are creating a tunnel secure between your computer and the server, and that's a good way of communicating in a secure way. When you are at a website, make sure the website has an HTTPS. So let me just show you what that means. Okay, so you see this lock here, and if you look closely to the address, you see the HTTPS. So just be careful with websites that don't have that, and any information that you enter, it might be copied by somebody else that's spying on that website without spying on your computer. The vulnerability comes from the website if it doesn't have the S here, and you see that lock here. So this comes in green, which is a much higher security. When you're dealing with your bank or something like that, it comes in green. While I'm here, so this is the deadline for the Windows 7 and the Server 2008, which is we're going to talk about in two-factor authentication. Use two-factor authentication as much as you can. What does that mean is, let's say if you're logging into your bank, or we implementing that also with our cloud now. If you're logging into Medisoft Cloud or to your bank or to anything important, it will send you a text through your phone to tell you, here's the code, use it. So even if somebody get to know your username and password, unless they have access to your phone, then they're not going to be able to connect. Texting is one of the easiest way. There's also Google Authenticator and things like that. Not everything has two-factor authentication. Bank, like if you're using Chase, I find Chase is the most sophisticated bank out of all the banks there, and I love how they have two-factor authentication. And from when I log in, it just send me a text. I put that password in the as a second method of authentication, not just my username and password. And also, don't become a victim of phishing. So watch out for phishing, the source of a lot of problems. When you leave your computer, lock it. Don't go to lunch or don't leave for the day without having your computer locked. The other type of attack, I'm just mentioning it here. I want to cover all the different categories. It's called denial of service attack. So denial of service, when somebody's attacking a network or a server that don't want it to service other people. It's usually for high profile places like a bank or a hospital or clearinghouse, so they can be attacked by the denial of service. Now, yes, most practices, they're not a target for denial of service attack, but you could be used as botnet. Botnet means that your computer is the one who's attacking everybody else and you don't notice anything. So what does that mean is, let's say if somebody wants to attack the Pentagon, or wants to attack the Citibank, or wants to attack, GE, or any big high profile company for whatever reason, they have almost like a trigger that all the botnet computers will send an attack to that target, and they have it programmed to do that on a certain day and a certain time. And by receiving millions of requests, that's what causes the denial of service. So you're not vulnerable for to be attacked yourself, but you could be vulnerable to be used as the one who attacks other people. So you want to protect yourself, and to protect yourself, make sure your operating system is up to date. Make sure you're patching your computers and your firewall and your server and everything else, that you have a strong updated antivirus, a strong firewall, and consider professional managed IT. So managed IT is where a company like us can monitor all your computers and update everything on your computer, or at least go to the cloud, because at least you have your server protected, but you also should have your workstation protected as well. This attack is also rare, but it can happen, which is called a SQL injection, where somebody is inserting a code that steals all the information, and that's usually a flows from the developer of the software. So to protect that is, you want to make sure that your operating system is up to date, and you want to make sure your software is up to date, especially if it's a SQL software like Medisoft or other SQL. So I have people say, well, I'm using my Medisoft from 10 years ago, and everything is working. Why do I need to upgrade? Because if it's not maintained anymore, there could be vulnerability for somebody to tag into your database and steal your patient information. And a lot of people, they tell me this, well, I'm a small doctor, why am I a target? Like, I'm not a target. They have much bigger fish to do. Well, what happened is, when the hacker is attacking, they don't know Dr. Smith or Dr. Lee. They have sniffer that goes and scan the internet and look for open holes. And if they find an open hole with the valuable data, then you are a target. So they might not know you by name, but they don't need to know that. They just go and sniff to find open doors so they can attack you. Make sure your computer and server are patched again. And the last one is the zero-day exploit. And the zero-day exploit was also like a loophole in the operating system or the software, and somebody found a loophole. They go there and they send a malicious a script to do whatever they want to do. So the way to prevent that is, again, make sure you have backup, make sure you're updating your SQL operating system, and make sure everything is up to date with patches. So same song and dance. Now, speaking of all of this, so there's Windows 7 is ending life in 2008. So after I mention everything I mentioned, what does that mean to you? So Microsoft is going to stop creating patches for Windows 7 and Server 2018 R2. And what does that mean is, if a hacker find a loophole in one of those applications, you are vulnerable, and you're not HIPAA compliant if you do that. So you want to make sure that you don't stay behind on operating system. You want to make sure you have a current operating system. And going back to the website, this is the deadline. That's a countdown for the Windows 7 and Server 2008 R2 support. So that means no more patches for those operating system, and that means you're no longer HIPAA compliant. So you have a couple ways. If it's a server and you don't want to buy a $10,000 server, you can move your data to the cloud, to Medisoft to the cloud, or something else that's available in the cloud. Or you can buy a new server that has the latest operating system. For the workstation, it needs to be updated also, but the workstation is not a $10,000. You can buy an operating system for a couple $100, or a machine for $500-600. So it's not as much expense as a server. So that's why more and more people moving to the, just keep that in mind, so you can either buy a new server or move to the cloud, which is a lot of people doing. Just a quick infomercial about the Medisoft cloud. If you're not on it yet, all the upgrades are included on the update. So upgrades is like going from version 22 to version 23. Updates means patches. So they found something in the software, so they come up with Service Pack 1, Service Pack 2, Service Pack 3. So when you are in the cloud, we are doing the patches and we're doing the upgrades for you. Unlimited support, you get training, you get the CPT code license, you can use it anywhere, anytime. We actually doing the Mac operating system now, and we're doing the two-factor authentication. I'm really excited about that. We're taking care of the backup. We're taking care of your disaster recovery plan. That it's one flat fee per month. There's no surprises. There's no one time you use 3 hours support, while most time you don't use support. So consistency, and it's a flat price that you can budget much easier. And of course, because of Jonathan and his team, we have the highest security, so you can sleep better at night knowing that the best experts in the industry are watching over your network and your data. So now we're going to talk about the fee schedule. So Medisoft doesn't have a robust fee schedule, because I've seen other systems that has a stronger fee schedule, but let's talk about the, if you want a fee schedule in Medisoft, how you use it, and what's the pros and cons of a fee schedule. So the pros and cons in a fee schedule is that, let's go to pros first. You don't have an inflated AR. So if you're 99213, you get paid $125, but you're billing $300, you're going to see that your AR has $1 million, where you're only going to get paid $150,000. So if you don't mind about that, that's the pros about, if you bill the correct amount. You don't have to do larger adjustment that scares everybody. Why am I having $1 million adjustment a year? Some practice are afraid that larger fees will scare the patient away. So you're billing $400 for an office visit, where the patient sees that you only spend 5 minutes with them, and they wonder why you're so expensive. I don't think that's valid, but I hear that from other physicians. I don't know how many patients thinks that way, but that's the kind of feedback that I get, where somebody wants a fee schedule. They say my patient are getting annoyed that I'm billing the insurance company a lot of money. Now let's find out the disadvantage about having a fee schedule. It's easy to make a mistake. If you bill $400 and you only get paid $125, guess what? The insurance is going to pay you the $125. But if you bill $100 and the insurance was willing to pay you $125, guess what? You're going to get the $100. And there's a lot of people don't update their fees, and they wind up losing a lot of money because they thought the software does it automatically, or they thought the software company is doing it for them, or the office manager, or whoever, or the doctor, or whoever. They think, okay, well, if this is the price in the system, then this is the price in the system, which is bad. If you're going to use a fee schedule, it's hard to maintain because there's no consistency there. You can have a plan with Aetna that they pay on $125, and another plan with the same Aetna that pays you $75. Hard to predict, or hard to know exactly. Medicare is easy, but all the other commercial insurance companies, they play lots of games, and they have too many variations of pricing. So let's take a look. If you're going to use the fee schedule, how would you do that? So when you go to the your CPT code, so let me just take a 99213, and under amount, so I can have a price in my A, and maybe I can have a different one in, let's say, my M. Okay, let's say my M is $100. So what does that mean? That I can use, I have two prices, one for standard, one for M for Medicare. That's what I use, M. And now to do that is, when you have the case, so whoever the case is for, make sure the case is set up under account with the price code here. So if I put A here, I will get price A. If I put M, I will get price M. Also, you can toggle. Let me show you the toggling here. So let's say you didn't update the case. Let's say if I put 99213, and it's of course it's going to put the $45. But if I put the M on my when I have it when I'm on the price, if I put an M, it replaces it with the 100. If I put an A, it replaces. So if you want to toggle between the prices because you make you have you didn't update the case for whatever reason, you can toggle between the M and the A if you type it on the keyboard. You have to be on the amount column, but if you whatever is in the case is whatever defaults when it comes up. And I have some screenshots. So you need to get the price code here in the case, and you need to put the amount in the letter. So you have from A to Z different. Very few people that I know that they use all of those letters. That they have different prices because they have different type of patients. That's not common for the average practice out there, but it's Medisoft has that capability. Now, how to track a missed copay. So a missed copay has two items you need to take care of. Number one is in the case you need to have the amount of copay. Then number two is the procedure itself. It needs to say require copay. Okay, so let's look at this here. So let's say I have a $15 copay here. I enter 99213, which was marked that it requires copay because I turned that on. So what happens is some of you might see this checkbox in the on the screen. I'm going to explain what that means. But if I use the copay, now see here where it has a copay. I've been using this for too many examples. So this patient has $180 of missed copay, and when I save this, it tells me that now it's $195. That's how you divide that by 15. That's how many times this account missed the copay. Now, if you turn this off, that means the patient is not required to pay you that copay for this visit for whatever reason. Let's say it was a pregnancy and they come for different. The first time is you pay a copay. So by turning this on or off, it overrides if you have a copay or not for this particular line. So now I'm back to 195. The beauty about having that also when you receive, let's say I receive the copay, let's say I'm receiving the copay here, and let's say it's $15. And now when I hit apply, I will see a button here called apply to copay. So if you have 5-6 different procedures here, if I hit apply to copay, it knows which line to apply to because it's saying that this procedure is copayable, and it just goes and match it. And you only appreciate that if you have too many lines. And it's I'm sure some of you using it now, and maybe some of you seen it and never know what it is. So that's what it is. Now the other thing is how you can track missed copay. So there's a couple of things that you need to do in the analysis reports. There's a couple of things here. This is copay report. This is all the people that paid you copay, so you can get a list of that. So it doesn't matter what your code is. If it's marked copay, it has a list of all the patients for whatever range of days you have that paid you copay. And another one is also under analysis. This is the missed copay. So I have an outstanding copay, all the people that missed their copay, and this is all most of them is Adam that I have keep using over and over again that would miss copay. The other way, there's also a statement called miss copay, and that statement miss copay need to be turned on from program options. You need to click on this button here, add copay remainder statement. So there, when you are in statement management, there will be an option here to print a miss copay statement, copay reminder right here. So if I do that one, it will supposed to give you all the people that miss copay statements. Okay, finally I got a question. Yeah, Keen McCarthy, as with the copay box at the end of the beneficial to track if a copay was applied for it. I'm not sure if I understand. With the copay box at the end of the beneficial to track if a copay was paid. For example, can I choose to click that box when a copay is paid? No, no, don't do that. So if I understand the question correct, so let me go back to Adam. If I understand the question correct, by clicking this on, if I collect the copay, I turn this off. No, if you turn this off, that means I'm forgiving this patient for the copay. So actually, that messes it up. So you only turn this off if you're not going to collect the copay for this patient for this visit. And if it's on, that means the patient is required to pay. Doesn't matter if they paid or not. This just tracks if this item is co-payable or not. So I already programmed 99213 to be co-payable, so that's why the checkbox comes up. If I enter another procedure that it doesn't have a copay, so let's say I did an ultrasound, and now ultrasound I don't have it programmed for copay. So, so that's why the checkbox doesn't come up. Now, for let's say maybe their plan requires copay for the ultrasound. So if I turn this on, then now it's doing another copay for the ultrasound. So that's when you turn it on or off. So it's very rare that you need to mess around with this. Only if for whatever reason you don't want to collect the copay because their plan doesn't require copay for this visit, which is usually everybody else does, or the opposite, where a procedure that's usually not copayable, but for whatever reason it's copayable, so I turn it on. So that's when you toggle between that copay on or not. Good question. Okay. So now the next question is okay. Can we check that box to track that the copay was paid? No, that copay is not to check it to. You have to have a payment code that is copay type, and you have to apply it to the line item that's required a copay. That checkbox is not for if they pay the copay or not. So that's misleading. That's why I'm doing those kind of meetings. So I don't want you to use the software the wrong way by clicking that on and off if they pay the copay or not. That's not what it meant for. Okay, great question. Okay, so let's move on. So those are the copay reports that I mentioned, and the next thing is how to track a take back. So what's a take back first? So take back is when the insurance was supposed to give you a $500, but they only give you $450 because they taken away $50 from Joe Schmo and given it to Susie Smith. So let's see how that works in the system. So let's say I received, so number one is you need to have a take back code, and that take back code, it needs to be marked as insurance take back. So you can call it whatever name you want. I like to use take back, and the type is going to be take back. So this has to be there, and it's a good. Now you don't have to have a payment code for Aetna, an adjustment code for Aetna, and don't do that. You just use insurance payment, insurance adjustment. The old way in Medisoft, it was harder for you to track how much Aetna adjusted, how much Cigna adjusted. So we were telling people you need to have a code for each one. But now there's more flexibility in reports. So if you're using a generic insurance adjustment, I can tell you how much of that for Aetna and how much of that for Cigna. So don't do that. Now another thing that highly recommended that you should do, for each of the insurance company, go under codes and option and fill them in. If you fill them in here, when you receive the EOB, manual EOB, when you hit new and you say that this is for Aetna, it comes up and fills all the codes for you. So if you don't, then you have to put it every time. So if you see yourself, you have to list the codes every time here, that means you don't have it programmed in the insurance list. So you want to go to your insurance list and you want to go to each one of this and mark the code here. And if you are new at Medisoft and you don't have those codes, I like to start from here. I like to just go here and I just say new payment, and I would say insurance payment, and it already have the insurance payment code type because I did it from the insurance payment. If I do it from here, if I hit new write-off code, it will have here an insurance adjustment. So it's smart enough to know based on which column you are. So if I do a take back here, it knows that it's a take back. So that's how I do it. So if you're new at Medisoft and you're building your database, I would start from here and add insurance payment, insurance adjustment, withhold. I'll talk about withhold later. Not many people use it, but since you're there, just add it. Then you have deductible and you have take back. So when you applying the take back, you're going to have a screen looks like this. So you started with $500, but you put 75 take back from this patient. So what happened? This patient, let me show you this in real life. So let's say I'm applying this here and I'm applying it to Ben. So Ben has a zero balance from before. Now, if you don't see this one because it's paid off, you can just turn this off. So when this is on, it doesn't show you anything with a zero remainder. But our insurance is taking back $75 from Ben. So I'm turning this on so I get to see the line item that has a zero remainder. So now when I put 75 here, then the balance for Ben is $75. And now my unapplied amount it went up from 575. So the insurance company was supposed to send me $575, but they took away $75 from Ben, and now they're gonna give it to somebody else. I'm gonna find out who's the person they're gonna give it to. That could be. I'm done with this one. All I'm doing with Ben is adding the 75. So Ben's balance went up by 75. My unapplied amount went up by. Then now I can just go through my EUB and apply the rest of the money. Refund. So now a refund is you need to understand different between a positive adjustment and a negative adjustment. When you're creating an adjustment, by default, this box will be on. So what does that mean? The adjustment is going to be negative. So let's say if I have an adjustment of, let's call it insurance adjustment, and I use that code for $20. So now the patient balance is going to be less, or the account balance is going to be less by $20. But if I want to increase the patient the balance by $20, then I want to make something called a refund, or maybe a bounce check fee, or whatever fee that you, or maybe you're doing an adjustment for medical record copying or whatever it is. So you can have whatever code you want, and when you create that code, now when you say it's an adjustment, let's say I'm doing an insurance adjustment. This is by default is a positive, is a negative adjustment. If I want it to be a positive adjustment, then I will turn this off. So if I use this adjustment now, it's going to increase the patient balance by the amount of the adjustment. Okay, so you want to do that for a refund. You want to do that for like a bounce check or any additional fees or no show. Yeah, you don't want to create a CPT code called no show. Maybe you want to do an adjustment, say no show. Have to do it that way, but it's a way of doing it. Or maybe you're doing like a kind of if you're doing a refund, if you use that refund. So let's say I'm gonna do it here for, let's say I'm gonna use it for Ben, and I'm gonna add a refund for Ben. So I'm gonna add new. You can have a patient refund and insurance refund. Let's say insurance don't ask for a refund anymore, as far as I think. I think they just take it back from you. But if it is, you can create an insurance refund, or you can patient refund, where you can say who you're refunding. And let's say if I was really refunding $20 for this patient, so I can put the check number that I'm going to cut from my accounting system to the patient, then I can put here $20. And now the patient balance is going to go up by $20. So watch this, $592 when I save is going to go up by $20 because I just did a positive adjustment that increases the patient balance by the $20. Okay, I see we have a few questions. One question, and this question is from Denise. Does posting take back through revenue management work the same way? Excellent question. So version 23, it works the same way. I can do a take back, I can control the adjustment, I can control the previous version, it doesn't. So if you are on version 23, you can control that better than any other previous version. Excellent question. Gisela, can you hear me? Can you talk?
Yes.
Yes, you're on the
Yes.
air. Go ahead.
Okay, so my question is, sometimes when we want to make a patient refund, there is no take-back code for patient money. There is one for insurance that will actually take the money out of the financials. However, there is none for patient payments. I mean, I can do a reverse adjustment, but that's not actually taking the money out of my financials. So that was my question.
When you say
I'm
taking
having an issue with the patient payments.
when you say taking out the money out of your financial, what exactly you mean by that?
I am taking for example, if I want to refund the patient a $20 copay that they pay the time of the visit, and then when the insurance process that service, they made the out of pocket, so the copay didn't apply. So I have to write a check back to the patient. So I received the $20 from the patient in my bank account. I want to take it out, also from my financials. I'm not doing an adjustment, just taken out of the payments that I received. So at the end of the month, when I'm balancing my checkbook, the $20 that I returned to the patient is actually still showing up in my Medisoft.
Okay.
That I have it, but I actually returned it.
Okay, I see. So let's take a look at that and see if it's an excellent question. So let's play with it. So first I'm going to start with okay, so let's first look at my deposit list for the day. So I'm going to hit print, and let's say I'm going to only do for today's date. I want to see how much. I have no money here. So now I'm going to apply that $500 just to get some money in. So I hit apply, and let's say I'll use Ben, and let's say I received 300 for Ben, and I received $100 for here, and another $100 for here. I apply my $500. So if I print okay, so I have my $500 credit here. So you're saying if I give a refund, it's not going to show here? Is that what you're saying?
No, actually for the patient, not the insurance. I mean, the insurance, it works with the take back.
Okay.
But if I receive money from the patient and then I want to, return that money to them.
Okay, so let's do that. So I have Ben here. So let's use Ben. And Ben balance is $592 for the visit and $962 for the whole account balance. So I want to create a patient refund. So I'm going to create a new code for you here just to see how the code should be done. And make sure your code is done the same way if it's already there. So I'm going to call this one refund PT. Okay, and I'm going to say that this is going to be not an insurance adjustment. I'm going to do it as just a regular adjustment, and make sure you turn this off because you want it to be a refund. It needs to be a positive adjustment. You don't want that checkbox when you're doing refund. Normally, when you do adjustment, you leave that alone as a negative adjustment, but I want a positive adjustment here. So now I'm going to use that refund for patient. That's the one I just did. And I'm going to just make it a larger amount just to see the difference. I'm going to give this patient a $500 refund. I'm going to hit apply, and I need to apply it to, I'm going to apply $100 here, and I'm going to apply $400 here.
Normally, when you apply a refund, usually the account balance is going to be something like negative $500. So when you apply the refund, now it increases to zero. So that means you're adding 500 to the balance, so now it's zero.
I have a question.
Sure.
When it says the total insurance payment, total cash co-payments, why doesn't it take it out of the total receipts? Because that's where my problem is. I know how the adjustment works. It's just the balance, but I would like it to show up on my total receipts that I returned the money. I don't have the money now. So
you're saying,
true account.
yeah, it comes out as an adjustment. It comes out from your AR and it comes out from your income. But you're saying that if I took it as a copay, then I want to refund it as a copay.
Right.
And
It
that's
doesn't come out of my income.
I hear you. I agree with you. If you have to do it that way, the best way of doing it is really go back to that copay and delete it and put a comment there why you deleted it. So that way it takes it away from your income. But that's the only way that I have with Medisoft to handle that is by doing the adjustment. But I think
Right.
that you're right. I think that's a good idea for enhancement. I appreciate it. Good
Mhm.
idea. Uh,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Sally is asking, are there cloud fees based on practice or per provider? So it's based on number of users. So the cloud is depending on the number of users. The more user you have, the less price per user you're going to have. Uh, I just had a call yesterday that a big billing company has 300 users. So of course they're not gonna get the user price as if you only have one single user. So depending on how many users you go. There was a previously recommendation on hold of on upgrade to 23 until bugs would, okay. So usually if you the bigger you practice, the more you want to wait for upgrades. So what does that mean is if you I have practices with 17 doctors now. Do I want to make a practice with 17 doctors to go on Medisoft 23 1 week after it was released? No, you probably I want to wait 6 months. So the bigger your practice, the more you want to wait for your upgrades. So yes, we don't jump on upgrades in the first 4 weeks when a release comes out, unless you're brand new practice. If you come to me and you're so brand new to Medisoft, I'm not going to tell you go to version 22, then I'll move you in a few weeks to version 23. I start you with version 23 because you got nothing to lose. You're starting new data, but if you have a busy practice with lots of data for many years, I want to make sure that everything has been tested because no matter how much beta testing you do, something always comes up. So, so far, 23 is very solid. If you haven't done it yet, I will highly recommend that you should do it. And I think we finished with the questions. I want to thank you so much for your business. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. So let me just put my contact information here at the end. Okay, so I want to thank you for the business. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. If I didn't get to answer your question or you thought of a question later, just email me. I will be more than happy to answer. Thank you.